When a talk show host tried to humiliate Taylor Swift with questions about her relationship with Travis Kelce, no one expected what happened next. But with just one sharp response, Taylor flipped the conversation, leaving the host speechless and the audience erupting in applause. What started as a simple interview about her music quickly turned into one of the most talked about media moments of the year. And social media? It went absolutely wild. Global icon Taylor Swift, the name that fans had been waiting for, finally made her way onto the stage, greeted by thunderous applause. Known for breaking records and dominating charts, her presence immediately electrified the room. People had been eagerly anticipating this moment, excited to hear about her latest projects, including her upcoming album and the Eras tour. She took her seat across from the host, exuding confidence and charm, ready to dive into the discussion. The host began with a warm welcome, praising her recent successes and her impact on the music industry. The conversation started smoothly, with Taylor sharing her thoughts on her music, the creative process, and what fans could look forward to next. But as the dialogue progressed, the tone began to shift. The host subtly steered the conversation away from her work and toward her personal life. The audience could sense the change. This wasn't just an interview about her album anymore. It was clear the host had another agenda, and Taylor was about to find herself in the middle of it. The interview kicked off on a light and positive note. Taylor Swift, with her signature poise, spoke passionately about her upcoming album, sharing insights into the creative process behind her latest songs. She described how each track was deeply personal, reflecting different emotions and experiences that had shaped her over the past year. The host nodded along, asking follow-up questions about the Eras tour and the overwhelming response from fans worldwide. Taylor, smiling, recalled the unforgettable moments on stage, the energy of the crowds, and how performing live had been a surreal experience. She expressed gratitude for her fans, emphasizing how their support continued to inspire her music. Everything seemed like a standard industry interview, discussing music, tour life, and future projects. But as the conversation flowed, there was a subtle shift in the host's demeanor. The questions started to feel a little more calculated, the pauses between responses just a bit longer. While Taylor remained composed, the audience could sense it, something was coming. The host wasn't going to keep things just about the music for much longer. The conversation had been flowing effortlessly, centered around Taylor Swift's music, her creative process, and the excitement surrounding the Eras tour. She spoke passionately about her upcoming album, sharing how each song held deep meaning, and how her fans had played a crucial role in inspiring her work. The audience was fully engaged, hanging on to every word, enjoying the inside look into Taylor's world of music. But then, almost abruptly, the host leaned in slightly, shifting the direction of the discussion. With a knowing smile, they asked, "Taylor, your fans love your music, but lately, they've been just as interested in something else, your relationship with Travis Kelce." The audience reacted immediately, some gasped, some chuckled, while others leaned in closer, sensing the change in tone. This wasn't just about her career anymore. The host continued, referencing the now viral moment from the NFL game, where Taylor had been spotted celebrating in the stands and later sharing an affectionate kiss with Travis Kelce. That moment practically broke the internet, the host added, watching Taylor's expression closely. People are calling it the pop star and the football star love story of the decade. What's really going on there? Taylor remained composed, though there was a slight shift in her posture. She had expected this. After all, her personal life had always been a topic of public fascination. But the sudden transition from discussing her passion for music to dissecting her private life was something she had experienced countless times before. The audience could sense the tension. Some fans in the crowd cheered at the mention of Travis, while others whispered among themselves, waiting to see how Taylor would respond. The energy in the room had changed. This wasn't just about promoting an album anymore, this was now personal. Taylor took a brief pause, a small smile playing on her lips. The moment was hanging in the air, the host watching eagerly for her reaction. Everyone in the room knew that whatever she said next would be dissected by headlines, social media, and millions of fans worldwide. The question was, would she entertain the topic, dodge it, or take control of the conversation entirely? The host, sensing an opportunity, wasn't ready to move on just yet. With a slight smirk, they leaned forward, their voice carrying a playful yet pointed edge. "You know, Taylor, your fans have always been invested in your love life. From Joe Alwyn to Harry Styles, even Matty Healy, every relationship you've had seems to turn into music that the world can't stop listening to." The audience reacted instantly. Some murmured, others chuckled, and a few gasped at the directness of the statement. The shift in the room was undeniable. This was no longer a casual mention of her personal life, this was the host digging deeper, pushing for a reaction. The host continued, barely giving Taylor a moment to respond. "So, the question everyone is wondering. Is this one different? Or should we expect another heartbreak anthem in the making?" The words hung in the air, the weight of them pressing down on the conversation. Taylor, still composed, tilted her head slightly, the same knowing smile on her face. But there was a shift in her expression, an unspoken acknowledgement that she had been down this road before. She had seen this narrative play out time and time again. The audience, too, could feel the tension rising. There was an eagerness, a curiosity, but also a quiet awareness that this was more than just small talk. It was an attempt to box Taylor into the same story that had followed her for years, the idea that her personal relationships defined her music more than her artistry itself. For a brief moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. The host, the audience, the millions of viewers who would later dissect this moment on social media, everyone was waiting to see how Taylor would respond. Would she brush it off, give a carefully crafted answer, or take control of the narrative entirely? Taylor paused, letting the weight of the question settle in the room. A slight smile formed on her lips, not one of amusement, but of recognition. This was a conversation she had faced countless times before. She took a breath, then leaned forward slightly, her tone measured but firm. "You know, it's interesting," she began, her voice calm yet confident. "I've been in this industry for over a decade, and somehow, my personal life always seems to be a bigger topic than my music. I've released multiple record-breaking albums, sold out world tours, and won 14 Grammys, but the first question is always about who I'm dating." The audience erupted in applause, a clear show of support for her words. Some even cheered, while the host shifted in their seat, realizing that Taylor had just flipped the conversation. She continued, her voice unwavering. "I don't see male artists being asked if their relationships define their careers. Nobody wonders if a breakup is going to shape their next album. But for women, it's always about who we're with, rather than what we create. And honestly, that says more about the way we view women in this industry than it does about me." The applause grew louder, some audience members even standing in agreement. Taylor smiled, nodding as if to acknowledge the support before delivering her final point. "At the end of the day, my focus has always been my music. I write about my experiences, some are about love, some are about life, some are about things much bigger than me. But I don't create for headlines, I create for my fans. And I think they know that." The host, momentarily at a loss for words, forced a smile. They had tried to push Taylor into a corner, but instead, she had taken control of the conversation. The audience could feel it, this moment wasn't just another interview response. It was a statement, one that would be replayed, quoted, and celebrated far beyond the walls of the studio. The host, momentarily taken aback by Taylor's response, quickly tried to regain control of the conversation. With a composed but slightly forced smile, they leaned back and shrugged. "But Taylor, you're one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Don't you think that comes with a level of public interest? I mean, when you're in the spotlight, isn't it fair for people to speculate?" The words hung in the air, a last attempt to justify the scrutiny surrounding Taylor's personal life. The audience quieted slightly, waiting to see how she would respond. Taylor didn't hesitate. She met the host's gaze, still smiling but with an unmistakable sharpness in her tone. "I understand that people are curious. I get it. But let's be real, there's a difference between curiosity and entitlement." A wave of murmurs spread through the audience, followed by growing applause. Taylor continued, her voice steady. "People can talk about whatever they want, but that doesn't mean I owe them an answer. My music is personal, but my personal life isn't entertainment. And honestly, if someone is more interested in who I'm dating than the songs I write, maybe they're not really here for the music at all." The audience exploded. Cheers and applause echoed through the studio, some fans even standing up to show their support. The host, clearly thrown off, attempted a polite chuckle, but the power shift was undeniable. Taylor had just shut down the conversation in a way that was both graceful and commanding. This was no longer about a talk show segment, it was a moment that would be clipped, shared, and discussed across social media and news outlets. Taylor had made it clear, she controlled her own narrative, and no one else had the right to define it for her. Within minutes of the interview airing, clips of Taylor's response began flooding social media. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were buzzing with reactions, as fans and media outlets wasted no time in dissecting the moment. Short snippets of her sharp yet composed remarks spread like wildfire, with captions like, "Taylor Swift just ended that host's career," and "This is why she's the queen." The hashtags #Taylor Swift clapback, #respect women in music, and #Swifties Unite shot to the top of trending lists, with thousands of fans praising her ability to handle the tough questions with grace and confidence. Within hours, millions of views poured in on posts replaying the moment she flipped the script on the host. Major news outlets quickly picked up the story, with headlines like, "Taylor Swift's most iconic talk show moment," and "Taylor shuts down invasive questions like a pro." Morning shows debated the ethics of celebrity interviews, with many pointing out the double standards women in the industry continue to face. Even some high-profile celebrities chimed in, applauding Taylor for standing her ground. Fans took to social media to express their admiration, with comments flooding her recent posts, "This is why I stan Taylor," and "She handled that like a queen." Others reflected on the deeper message behind her words, calling it an important moment for women in entertainment. What started as just another talk show appearance had transformed into a viral cultural moment. Taylor hadn't just answered a question, she had set the record straight, reminding the world that she was more than just her relationships. She was an artist, a storyteller, and, above all, someone who controlled her own narrative. Within minutes of the interview airing, clips of Taylor's response flooded social media. Fans and media outlets wasted no time dissecting the moment, and hashtags like #Taylor Swift clapback, #respect women in music, and #Swifties Unite dominated Twitter's trending list. Short snippets of her shutting down the host's intrusive questioning racked up millions of views. Fans praised her confidence, calling it one of her most powerful media moments. "Taylor Swift just schooled the industry on boundaries," one tweet read, accompanied by a clip of her poised response. Others pointed out the double standards she had exposed, sparking debates about the way female artists are treated in the public eye. News outlets quickly picked up the story, with headlines declaring it Taylor Swift's most iconic talk show moment, and Taylor Swift shuts down host with one brilliant response. Entertainment commentators weighed in, calling it a defining moment in how celebrities take control of their own narratives. Even those outside the Swiftie fandom applauded her grace under pressure. The viral moment wasn't just a social media frenzy, it became a cultural conversation. Days later, Taylor briefly addressed the interview in a more reflective setting. Without directly calling out the host, she spoke about the importance of setting boundaries, knowing one's worth, and not allowing the media to dictate the narrative of someone's life. At the end of the day, I love my fans, and I love sharing my music with the world. But my personal life? That's mine. I don't believe anyone should feel obligated to explain their relationships, their choices, or their private moments just because they're in the public eye. I think we should all be able to focus on what truly matters, our work, our passion, and the things that make us who we are. Her words resonated beyond just her fan base. The conversation shifted toward media ethics, celebrity privacy, and the way women in entertainment are often forced to justify their personal lives in ways their male counterparts rarely are. This wasn't just another viral moment, it was yet another reminder that Taylor Swift is not just a musician but a woman who knows how to own her story, stand her ground, and control her own narrative.